Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be colouring up an image by Jasmine Becket-Griffith from her Patreon only or Patreon exclusive images that she does do. So let's pop in and have a look. Thanks so much for watching, guys. So we're colouring an image from Jasmine Becket-Griffith. This is her Patreon exclusive image for Halloween, so it's called Halloween Dragonling. We're going to be colouring it with Copic markers, and I've used Xpress blending card. I've printed that image in a pale orange colour so I can get that no line effect that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and start colouring up in a moment. We do use a lot of different colours through this one, and I do swap and change a fair bit through it. So if you can't catch up, please make sure you do pause that video and just catch up before you continue on. So it is quite quick, and obviously colouring in this image would normally take me approximately 4 to 5 hours to do, so I have shrunk it down for the purpose of this video today. If, however, you would like to see a full extended version of this video, you can get that. It is available on Patreon. So I'll pop all the links for Patreon in the description below. So to see the description underneath this video, you just click on the little arrow underneath on the right hand side of the video, and it does drop down the description for the video. It does have all of the links that I will talk about today, and also has some information for you there as well. So first of all, I'm colouring this image, doing the skin with some YR000, and I'm covering over the skin entirely with this colour. Now you can see there that I accidentally did the dragon's feet, but that doesn't matter because we're going to go over that later on anyway, so you will not be able to tell at all. Now, as I go through the colours with this, I just want you to be patient with the colouring. If you do the face skin and you feel like it's blotchy or anything like that, don't worry, because once you start to put in facial features, hair, her lips and eyes and things like that, you'll notice that the blotchiness of it seems to disappear into the picture, and it makes it still look very good. So don't stress if you do have some blotchiness because of that blue. So I'm coming in now with B000, and I'm doing all of the shadow areas with this one now. So I've come in with RV00, and I'm going over the top of all of the blue that I've just done, and I'm bringing this out a little bit more over the cheek area to create a little blush look on her cheeks. If you want to go a little bit darker, just put a couple of layers on in that area. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to move down to the skin on her arms and her shoulder there as well, and put the same colours that I've used in there before I move on to the next layer. So now I'm coming in with YR000 again, and I'm re-going over this area. So what I'm trying to do is create a nice smooth blend with it and bring it all the way over the whole area that I've done. I'm going to bring in some E000 as well, just to remove some of the orange tinge off the skin a little bit. So I'm going to go over the area with that as well now. So I'm coming in with YR00, and I'm just filling out all of these shadow areas again with this colour. So I'm going to blend that out again with YR000 just to blend in that darker colour that I did in the shadows. So if you would like to know a little bit more about skin and perhaps markers in general, there are a few good online classes that you can do. One of those is Kit and Clouder. There are lots of classes there, and there are some good ones for markers as well. So if you do go along and sign up to a class, please let Elise know that I did send you. So I'm coming in now to do some of the hair. I'm going to use some blue, so I've got B99 for the shadow areas, and this particular image has already got the shadow areas drawn in, so it was quite easy to go in and just colour in the marked out shadow areas in the hair. For me though, doing my own shadows and shading and things like that, this actually proved quite difficult for me to be motivated to continue on with the picture. But it ended up coming through quite well, and I was happy that I continued on and finished up the picture. So just while I'm colouring up the shadow areas of the hair there, I'd just like to mention that I do have a Facebook group. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Google, and also I do have Patreon now as well. So if you would like the links to those things, they will be in the description below as well. Also, because this is a Patreon exclusive image from Jasmine Becket, I'll put Jasmine Beckett's link for Patreon down there as well, so you can have a look at her page and details also. So I'm still coming in with that B99 and I'm filling out these areas. Now I will just done a little bit of a zoom in there so you can have a look at what I have done. I'm going to leave some of those parts or sections for orange hair, and I did fill in the top part of the hair with blue, but I'll just go over it with the brown, and you can't see that I had not actually put in an area where I wanted to put that orange in the top. So I'm going to come back in and do the orange parts before I blend out this blue, so I've already got that all marked in. So to do the hair, the orange part of the hair, I'm actually going to use a brown color as the base or the shadow base for that color, and then I'm going to blend that out with some oranges. So I've got E39 and I'm just going into all of the shadow areas in the brown sections of the hair and filling that out now. So now I've done the shadow areas, I'm coming in with YR07 and I'm just going to fill out all of the over the top of the brown that I've just done and bring that a little bit further out towards the highlighted areas or the white area of the hair. So you can see where I've done already the hair in for the brown and the blue that there's little gaps of white throughout that. That's going to be our highlight section or the shiny part of the hair. So I don't want to go into that section too far yet with the darker colors until I get to the lighter ones. So I'm coming in now. I've got YR04 and I'm just coming over the top of the previous colors and just blending that out towards the middle. So I'm going to come back over it again to lighten it up a little bit as well with some YR12. So at the moment we're using YR4 and I'm going to use some YR12 to finish off the rest of it there. I've got some C7 and I'm just coming in and going over these shadow areas in the blue section. I'm also going to bring in a little bit of black in later on as well to deepen that up more. So I'm going to swap that C7 out and bring in some B97, and go over those areas I've just done and bring them a little bit further out towards the highlight part of the hair there. And I've got B95, and I'm going to go in and do exactly the same thing that I did before, but bringing it almost to the middle of that white section now. We are going to go over it with B93 and finish those highlight sections off. So I'm coming in with E39, and I'm doing these shadow areas on the pumpkin here. So I'm just lining around the lines that are already drawn in there and just making them a little bit darker. So I'm not picking all of those lines, I'm just randomly picking lines along those areas. Also, I'm putting on the right side of the pumpkin there, I'm bringing in a little bit of the color there as well. So the phone was just there because I was just checking to see Jasmine's image. I wasn't sure how the pumpkin lines went. Turns out that the actual top of the pumpkin has where the lines go, so I didn't actually see that until after I started that. So I'm coming over the E39 now with YR18 and just making those lines a little bit thicker so that I can blend those out to a lighter colour in the middle of each of those sections. So I've got YR7 and I'm putting this in to blend this out a bit further. So I've got YR16 and I'm just going over the previous colour and extending this further out. So I'm leaving a small gap now to blend out the last colour. So I've got YR15 and I'm just blending this out a little bit further, and I've also added both of these colours into the eyes as well. I'm using Y15 to do the inside of the mouth area and also the inside of the eyes. I'm going to use some Y04 later on to do the glow around the pumpkin. So I'm coming in with E39 to do the lid of the pumpkin now. And I'm just blending those out with the previous colours that I used in the bottom section. I'm just going to do a second layer on the pumpkin as well, just to make sure that's nice and deep and has a lot of character to it. So I'm putting all of the colours up on the screen for you. If you would like a colour conversion chart or an actual colour list, then you can pop over to Patreon and have a look at over there and have a look at the different tiers for Patreon. So I'm going to come over that again now with the YR18, and I'm just going to keep blending this out to the lightest colour again, including the top section this time as well. So the next colour I'm using is YR07. And then I've got that YR16 again. So I'm going to continue blending. I've got YR15, I've got Y15 and Y04. I'm just going to deepen up those shadow areas with that E39 again, just to give me some nice defined lines. So we're going to start on the wings. So we're going to do the wings a different colour to the dragon. So we're going to do her wings and the dragon a different colour. So I'm going to come in and mark out some highlight areas. I'm going to use some YG21 to do that. And I'm going to just go over the areas that I don't want to go too much over with dark colours straight away, because I want them to have that highlight and glow from the pumpkin. So I'm going to come in with that YG21 and I'm just going to do all of those highlight sections, especially on this little baby dragon here who's closer to that, and pop those colours in now. So I just want to deepen up that highlight color, so I've got YR15 to do that. I'm going to come over the top of that with a green. I've got G94, and I'm just going to go over the top of those, I guess they're like ribbed areas of the wings, and just put some green over the top of that. So the yellow underneath is going to help bring out that highlight, so the green that I'm putting over the top isn't quite as dark as it would have been without it. So I'm coming in to finish that off now. So I'm going to use this G94 and fill in some areas on the dragon that I want to fill in. These will be gone over a few times with different colors. I'm also going to put it in the wings here as well, so you can see the difference in color between the plain part that I've done that on and then the yellow underneath on the ribbed part. So it definitely does come out a different color. So we're going to bring in some shadow areas. So I'm putting the shadow areas just really close to the ribbed sections to show that they're raised off the wing, so then they are a separate part of that, I guess, the leathery part of the wing. So I'm coming in to do that with G99. I'm going to blend that out with G85. So coming over the top of that previous area and just blending this a little bit further out. So you can see that I've put lines underneath each of those circles on the wing as well. So those parts of the wing are raised up off the wing, but they still are attached to it. So I'm going to come and blend that out with G94 and just get that fully through those wings. I have left little highlight sections, and I'm doing it quite rough because I wanted some texture through the wings. So I'm going to come back in over the top of that with YG23 and just brighten all of those areas up now with that. So once I've done that, I'm coming in with the G99 again and just really deepening up these areas. So I'm going to go over a second layer with the colors again, just to get some nice rich deep shading in there, and make it really look 3D and pop out, or actually curve in, I guess the wings are, not popping out. But I'm making sure that I do this, as I said, I'm not doing it nice and neat, I'm just doing it roughly, and I'm making sure that I put little lines underneath those raised parts on the side of the wing there, because the more we do that too, the more that they'll look raised as well. So I'm coming in with G94 and I'm just blending that out. And then I've got some YG23 again, and I'm just going back over the top of those layers. So I've missed out the G85 this time round. So the wings are almost done. We do have to just work on the little dots on the side of the wing now. So to bring a little bit more highlight in over the top of the rib sections, I've got Y04, and I'm going over the top of those areas just to brighten and lighten them up a little bit. And I'm also going around and bringing that out of the coloured area just to show that glow. I've got C9, and I'm just going in and I'm putting in some shadow areas. Now my C9 was actually really thick, so I've had to come back over it with some G99 and G94 and blend that out. But as I'm blending it out, the ink wasn't sinking into the paper enough, so I did actually have to wipe a little bit away with my finger just to make sure I didn't smudge that over the rest of the picture. So it's a little bit like using pastels, I guess. It was just so thick, that grey, it just caused the ink to sit on top of it. So I'm coming back in with YG23 and doing a final layer over the whole area again. So I'm going to start to work on the spots that are sitting on top of the wing. So I have got some YG95, and I've also got Y28, and I'm filling out the rest of that circle with that. And then I'm going over the whole area with YR23. So here I wanted to make sure that I had actually created enough of a 3D effect. So I wanted to come in and test out the white watercolor paint or gel pen to make sure that I had done that enough. You don't have to do this until the end if you don't want to. I did it because I wasn't quite sure if it was going to be enough of a depth and things like that in it, so that's why I've just gone over this part now. So once I'd laid down that white watercolor paint, I just used a wet brush to go in and just smooth those areas off, using a cotton pad and wiping off parts that I wasn't happy with as well. So because it is water-based, you can just wipe it off there. So I'm just finishing that off now and just smoothing over these white areas to blend them in a little bit. So once I'm pretty happy with that, I'm going to come back in with Y28 and just put a little bit more colour around the outside of those circles just to bring them out a little bit more, and I've also put it in the stalk as well. So I've got YR15 and I'm just coming in and deepening up some of those areas. I'm going to bring some greens in to do the stalk. I've got their YG95, then I'm going to blend out a little bit of G94 and then some YG21 on that one. And I'm just blending it in randomly, picking darker shadow areas to put the darker colours and then lighter to put the lighter colours. I'm going to put some eyebrows in with C9. I'm going to start working on the dragon. I've got YG23 and I'm just deepening up these areas. I'm going to come over that with YG00 and just put some more highlight over the top of that. Just going to use that YG00 to go over her skin a little bit as well. So I'm coming in with BG78. I'm going to blend this out with BG75 and then BG72. So this colour is slightly different to what we did on her wings. It's going to have the blue tone to it, so it will be different. And I'm just going in and I'm using this in all of the shadow areas, and then I'm going to blend it out with those remaining colours. So Copic markers are very forgiving in the way that you blend, so I think I said I wanted to do it roughly so I could have some texture through it. So the good thing about them is that you can do lots of different types of blending. I like to use a lot of spots, and I like to flood the colour in sometimes because it looks like it's meant to be like that, so the lines aren't actually completely blended and things like that, which doesn't, it's good because it just gives to the style and adds to the style of the picture. So I'm just coming over that with the BG72 now and just lightening all that up. So I'm just going to go over it again with some of the other colours that I've used in the wings on the girl now, because I want to put that back into the dragon as well. So you can already see on the highlighted parts it's already starting to look like yellow-green anyway, so I'm going to put a little bit more of that through. So I've got G99 and I'm coming into all the shadow areas with this one. Just putting a line through there. Some of the areas I'm flicking out a little bit so the next colour will blend nicely. So I'm just going to blend that out with G94. Now I'm coming back in with BG75 and re-going over those dark areas and just bringing that colour a little bit further out. BG72 again, and I'm blending a little bit further out. So almost coming over the highlight areas. We've still got a small section that hasn't come back over again. So we're going to bring in a lighter green to do that. So I'm going to use YG95 to go back in again and put some of this colour through. So I'm just randomly placing it in. I'm coming next to the shadow areas, sometimes I'm coming over it. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to put some of that colour in. Putting that YG95 into the tail here, I'm going to go over it with a couple of colours. This tail will be a little bit lighter because it's actually not in the shadow areas of the dragon's wing and or her body. So I'm making that a little bit lighter. I'm going to blend the shadow areas in here with BG78. I'm going to bring in some G94 and I'm going to do a little bit on the tail and also on the body as well, mixing that through a little bit. I've got some YR15 next and I'm going to come through and highlight those highlight areas a bit more with that and also put it in the heart shape on the end of the tail. And then I'm going to put on the highlight edge of that tail, I'm going to put some YG00. So I've got that YR15 now and I'm just going in and doing those highlighted areas again and the tail. And then I'm going to put a highlight area on the side of that heart shape of the tail and I'm going to do that YG00 and then I'm going to put some darker colour through that heart. I've got R08 and I'm going into the highlight section and putting it mainly on the right hand side, and I blended that out with some YR15 as well. I've got E99 and I'm coming into the darker areas of the eye and I'm also lining around the outside of the eye and putting a couple of little strokes in the middle there as well. I'm going to blend it out with E97. I'm going to use some R08 and do those shadow areas a little bit with this and also around the rim of the eye there. And I'm going to bring some yellow through next on the bottom part and just blend that over the whole lot. So I'm going to use Y17 and I'm going to put that in there. So it's nice and bright. I'm going to do some similar colours in the dragon's eye down there as well. So I've got black and I'm going to line all of the eyelashes and around the outside of the eye, leaving the highlight area that's already marked in there. While I'm just lining that one in there, just to also let you know that I do have, again, Facebook groups. You can follow me on Instagram. Also, I've got my channel here. If you haven't subscribed already and you'd like to receive notifications, just subscribe and you'll be able to get that. Also, I've got Patreon, so I'm going to put all of the links in the description below, and also I'll put Jasmine Beckett's Patreon link in there as well, because you can't actually get this image unless you are a Patreon member. So I'm almost finished colouring in the eyelashes here. I'm just going to keep going until I finish that. So I actually decided that I want to put some of this black into the hair as well. So I'm going to do it in all the shadow areas of the hair just to deepen up those shadows. So I'm going to alternate black and red on the stocking. So I'm doing the toe black and I'm going to alternate from there on up to the end of the stockings. Now I've only coloured in half of the area with the black because I'm going to blend it out with some greys, and also this next part that I'm going to do now, I had to actually draw in the line because it was missed, so I've done that just to make it a little bit more even. I'm going to use some W colours to go over the top of that and bring that up to that highlight section, and also I'm going to use red and orange for the in-between sections. So I'll just go and finish this part here. So I've got R08 and I'm coming in and doing all of the bottom sections of the stockings here. I'm going to blend this up with some YR colours after I've done that. So I'm going to blend the orange out with YR07 and YR15. And then in the black section, so I've got the YR07 at the moment. In the black sections, I'm going to use W9, W7, W5 and W3. And on the top of the stockings there, we've got the gap already left there that was already drawn in for us. That's actually the highlight part of the stocking. So that there I'll do in the Y04 with the rest of the glowing colour that's already through it. So I'm just going to come in and blend out this black area with the greys now. So I've got that Y04 and I've just put in that little bit of a glow, and I've put a little bit of this on the top of each parts of those stockings there as well. I'm doing the eye similar colours on the dragon to what I did on the girl, and I'm just using the black to outline those areas. I will come in with the white and highlight those later on. YG00 I'm using now just to put in more of that highlight and make sure it is sort of glowing off the pumpkin. I've used some C3 to go into the horns on the dragon. I missed the one on top of the wing there. I've got 43 to do the fleshy parts of the eye, and I'm using that C3 and the colourless blender to do the eyes and the shadows in the whites of the eyes. So I've got RV66 and I'm just filling in some shadow areas on the lips. And then I'm going to blend it out with RV63 and I'm going to use the white at the end to put that over as well. So on the dress I decided to do the RV colours as well. So I've got RV69, RV66 and RV63. And the lines for the shadows were already marked in, so I just followed those lines just to make it a little bit easier, and I would normally do my own obviously, but for the purpose of this one, because it was already marked in, I've just followed along. So I'm just going to go in and fill out these sections with the highlights and the dark and things like that. So starting all of the shadow areas, which would be the creases, would be the dark colour, and then you blend that slowly out to the RV63. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to use some green G99 in the shadow areas of the skirt there, and I'm also going to put a little bit on the lace on her shoulder, and I'm going to blend it out with the G94. So we've just made it all blend in nicely with the rest of it. I've got YG00 again to put some highlights on those areas I've done. Now there's a part of the dress at the back there I didn't do because I wanted to finish off the pumpkin stalk and things like that before I went in and filled that out to make sure I got the right areas. So on the trees I'm going to use the E70 colours. I've got E79, E77, E74 and E71. So I'm just going to go in and put this in over the trees and just concentrating on the dark. The right side of that is the darkest side because the moon's sort of shining on the front of those, and it's the opposite on the other side. So I'm just covering the stalk areas here with E71, and then I'm going to come over them with some green. So now I've done that, I can see what I've missed on the dress there. So I'm just coming in and putting those colours through the dress. So I'm just doing the background now. I'm going to use BV17 and I'm just going to come up about maybe 2/3 of the way up the page there and just fill out with this colour. I'm going to blend it out with the BV13 over the top of that, and then I've got BV11 and we're going to go close to the moon but not all the way in. So now I've got that BV13 and I'm coming over the top of that previous colour, and I'm putting this also over the top of the trees to put that blue tone through the trees as well. So you can see now that I've still left a gap up the top layer there for the moon and the lighter colours of the moon. So I'm going to use that BV11 and come in a little bit further closer to the moon now. So I'm just refilling my marker there with a little bit of clear to push some more of that colour down because it's actually running out and I don't have a refill for it. So I'm just coming in a little bit further and closer to that moon area. I've left that area there. I'm going to blend it out with this BV00. So I'm just coming in closer to the moon, almost touching it on that side, on the left side there, and then I'm filling in some of the area around the clouds as well. I've got BV40 and I've done a little bit inside the moon there, and I've blended that out with the colorless blender, and then I've used some BV02 and come over the top of that again on both sides there and blended it with that colorless blender as well. So we're going to start on the grass. Now I was going to go through and do individual sections here, but it was taking so long to do those smaller sections. I do just give up on that and decide to use just some streaks through there. So I'm using G99 at the moment, and I'm going in and just doing shadow areas, and then I come back over and I just start flicking the grass up from the bottom and just flicking my marker up and doing little streaks all over. I mix in a few other colors while I'm at that, and also I will use some YG23 to brighten up some of the areas that I had missed in there as well. So you get lots of nice textures by doing that, mixing in the colors and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the grass off here. I'll pop the colors up on the page as I go. So now I've got my white opaque watercolor paint here, and I'm just going in and lining out all the highlighted areas. Now most of these areas are already marked out by Jasmine Becket anyway, so you just need to sort of follow along those lines and fill that out. I did put a little bit extra in around the moon, and I've also done on her hair and things like that, so you can just follow along if you like. So we're coming up to the end now, guys. I just want to thank you all for watching, and as I said earlier, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I also love you to share the videos around with people who would like to know more about colouring in. All of the links are in the description below, and I look forward to catching up next time. Thanks, guys.